I am just very, very, very happy to have our Students of the Month back in the room. You guys don't even know how much we've missed having you. I can't hardly even say that enough. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start in with our board reports. Do you have a preference of who goes first?
I'll get started. I'll give you a couple updates also. Like I said, it's been a year and a half since we've had our Students of the Month, so we're very excited about that. What we'd like to do is we'll have our principals start. They'll give their building reports, and then we'll also have the Student of the Month. After that, after all the Students of the Month are done, if you'll please stay, we'll give you photos. Mrs. Stevens will take photos of your child and you, and the principal, whatever you'd like to get. We'd like to get those photos of everybody so we can share them with you and celebrate them on our website, also our school website. So congratulations on this honor, and thank you for all you do for our school district. And we'll begin with Mrs. Probus. Mrs. Probus from Hornet Park.
Can I give one instruction real quick about photos? As we take the group picture, if we could, we need to have everybody in a mask. When you're with your principal, you need to be in a mask. But when you're with your family member, you can take it off for the photo, okay? Since we're mask mandatory, we need to ask you to do that. So thank you for your understanding.
Well, hey, good evening, everyone. Hi there, I'm Erin Probus, the principal at Hornet Park Elementary School, and I'm so glad to join you this evening. And board, I want to thank you for your flexibility. Last month, you allowed me the gift to be a mama, and I was at back to school night for my son, and you had the gift of Mrs. Tanya Reed being here with you. So thank you. I just want to say that Hornet Park is definitely back in the groove, in the grove. We are, those kindergartners act as though they've been going to school for a long time. They know what to do, and that's from a lot of effort on their part, their families, and our staff. So I'm so proud and I'm so thankful. I wanted to share with you something that is kind of new this year for Hornet Park. We have what's called a Connections team, and it's really beautiful how it started. Over the last few years, we've seen a decreasing amount of parent engagement at things like a traditional PTO, PTA, or events that have been taking place. And it's been a little discouraging. We know our families love and support us, but the way we were presenting with invitations to participate weren't working for families anymore. And we didn't really have a solution, but we had an individual teacher, Miss Mackenzie Shanahan, who took that, she saw a need and took it and kind of ran with it. She had the initiative to start up a new committee, a connections team. And she made a plan, invited others to join, and she has started a fire. There's now a team of 8 people, of Hornet Park staff members, all volunteer. And they have come up with a long-range plan of monthly events for families to be engaged and involved in a variety of ways. And it's not just that team of 8. They have asked every staff member to participate in hosting and facilitating and leading those throughout the year. So it truly is a distributed leadership and ownership. The first event we held just about 2 weeks ago, and we had 68 families represented. That's huge. That's just wonderful. It had to be virtual, and it wasn't even a real glamorous topic. It was basically getting common language around curriculum and instruction. So what are we talking about when we use nerdy school language, and how does that make sense to families at home? So I just wanted to say thank you to our staff, thank you to our families that came. And our next one is on September 20th at 6 o'clock. So it's just been really wonderful to watch. And it's a good reminder that one person, if you're willing to stare a problem in the eye, you can do something about it. So it's pretty great. Also, I know that Tanya Reed shared with you last month about the academic and behavioral interventions that were already in place for Hornet Park. And I'm thrilled to share today that we've extended that to the social-emotional components of a student's experience at school. Through the support of our wonderful community and the recent referendum, we were able to add a second homeschool advisor to Hornet Park. So we were blessed with the gift of having Melissa Keeley join us at Hornet Park. So now we have this dynamite team of Melissa Keeley and Amy Parker, and they have just started up loads of groups. They administered surveys to families and to teachers to identify where do kiddos need support. And so they have 49 students starting in groups on anxiety and worry, anger, friendship, grief, divorce or separation, feelings management, social skills, and then lunch bunch. And it's just a really beautiful thing that services now wrap around academic, behavioral, and social emotional components. So I feel like they are really helping to live out our philosophy of love them first and then teach them what they need to know to be successful. And then one other piece, I wanted to update you on the building. On Tuesday, September 7th, We started a new traffic pattern for cars and buses, and it went really, really well. My tummy ache the day before did not equate to what happened on Tuesday morning. It was fantastic. So a special thank you to our creative friends with Performance Services. They created a flow that worked in a tiny space. To our police department who have been present each day to support us in that. Our Beech Grove operations, grounds, our transportation department, Melody Stevens, she blasted it out 1,000 times. Our families, our parents, and the Hornet Park staff. You know, Chick-fil-A drive-thru is known for being so fast and efficient. They got nothing on the Hornet Park drive-by, okay? As a matter of fact, we had Chick-fil-A on Friday to celebrate that. So that had to happen so that the mess in the front could begin. That mess is going to turn into something marvelous. Now the canopy's gone, the parking lot is in crumbles, and now we are getting ready to get the party started. So I'm excited for those updates to Hornet Park. But that which I'm most excited about is my student of the month, Bailey Small. Come on up, Bailey. I have so many sweet things I have here that her teachers have shared about Bailey. From Mrs. Doran, she says Bailey is super sweet and always willing to help out in class. She does everything with a smile on her face and is always paying attention. Our classroom would not be the same without her sweet personality. Mrs. Gardner says you are a sweet and kind-hearted person. You're a hard worker and you have always strived to be your best self. Mrs. Mazer says Bailey is just the best to have in class. She's always willing to help others and she's such a great example each day. She's a wonderful listener, following directions respectfully and responsibly all the time. Ms. Stone says Bailey is nothing short of so kind and so sweet. Ms. Stone's not her teacher. She has had the pleasure of knowing Bailey and her family through the YMCA for years as well. Even though she's never had the pleasure of having Bailey in class, she knows nothing but wonderful things about what a great role model she is and how hard she works every day. And from Ms. Parsetic, she says you are such a sweet girl. You come to Kids Club and work hard with a positive attitude. You are considerate of others and have the absolute best manners. Ms. Parsetic loves you. I love you. Hornet Park loves you. And we're proud of you, students of the month.
Cute.
Check it out. You get Aaron, you want to go ahead and name yours while you're around? Thank you, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Provis. Next is Miss Cotter from Central Illinois.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me. We teased Mrs. Provis for her clock, and I think she was making up for lost time last month. So a little bit shorter. We love all the updates. Last month, I had the opportunity to share with you all our new mission statement of embracing all learners where they are and reaching their needs. So with that, our focus since school has started has really been our MTSS process. And that is multi-tiered systems of support. It's been a district initiative and it's really been my baby at Central. I have wanted to really revamp that process for the past several years since I've been there, and we are on the right track. What that means is currently we have weekly professional development meetings and our teachers are able to collaborate together and work together in order to talk about student data, student achievement, and what is best for our kiddos. I've redesigned our staffing so that each team of teachers has specific interventionists, whether it's Title I teachers, related arts interventionists, even our ELL and special education teams. It sounds like an aha, duh, but when you have so many students that need so many needs, it's so important to target the people that you're communicating with. In that, we have had so many more meaningful, in-depth conversations. Instead of a Title I teacher being spread and working with 5 different teachers and collaborating with 5, now she's able to collaborate with 2 and focus on that specific group of students. We're still servicing the same number of kiddos that we've always been targeting. We always want to focus on those Tier 2, Tier 3 kiddos that need our interventions, but it's just differentiating where we're utilizing our staff in order to best meet those needs and provide our teachers that time that they need to collaborate. We all know how hard it is to have a conversation about one kid. Imagine trying to have 5 or 10 meaningful conversations in a limited amount of time. Just in the past month and a half, we've already seen student growth and achievement, and we wish to continue to see that throughout. So I'm super duper excited to see where this program takes us, and we had a consultant come through just I think 2 weeks ago to give some feedback, and she interviewed teachers, and so it'll be really interesting to see how things are going and where we can tweak some things to continue to help our kiddos out. A few important dates. At the end of this month, September 27th through October 1st, is parent-teacher conferences. Those will mostly be virtual. However, we are offering in person, as well as for any meetings. Anytime parents wish to come in and meet with us, we mask up and meet in person. We had incredible participation virtually last year, almost 100% parent engagement with our fall conferences. We recognized that that was a strategy that was easier for some of our parents. We understand that parents work and have other obligations, so a 15-minute Google Meet sometimes is easier than having to drive to school and meet the teacher. So either way that we can meet with you face-to-face, whether it's through a screen or in person, we welcome that. October 19th, just after fall break, we have our Title I meetings, and those will be at 8:30 and at 5:30. So again, 2 different opportunities for parents to engage with us. And then the remainder of this week, we are supporting the high school in Homecoming Week, which has been fun. Thank you, Mr. Carr, for sharing those with us. Tomorrow is Hollywood Glam, which will be my favorite. And I can't wait to see all of our kiddos dressed up. And now to the good stuff. Mayori Short, will you join me up here, please? Mayori's acted a little shy tonight, which is okay. We are so excited to celebrate her. She was nominated as Student of the Month by her teachers, Mrs. Romo and Mrs. Reeder, and they stated that she is always respectful and responsible. She has a kind heart and is willing to lend a helping hand and consistently give her best effort. Miss Long, her art teacher, said, Mayori is such a cheerful young lady. I love having her in the art room. She's a great friend to her classmates and gives her best effort in everything she does. Way to go, Mayori. I'm so proud of you. Mayori is currently a 3rd grader here at Central, but we were lucky enough to have her last year. I will never forget when I first met her because Mrs. Duncan, her teacher, came to me and said, one of my students has a request for morning announcements. So I record my morning announcements every day and then I blast them out. And so I thought, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let's see what she has to offer. And do you remember what you asked me to do? Stretch. She said she likes that I do the stretches on morning announcements. So I make sure now to do our mindfulness and stretch every day on morning announcements. And when I forget, I am well reminded. So Mrs. Duncan also added to the list, she said Mayori was always my go-to girl. I could count on her to help out with anything in the classroom. She is a model student and never gives up, even when tasks are difficult. She has a great work ethic and loves to help teachers and students. Great job, Mayori. As we can see, this is one special young lady, and every time I record announcements, I think of your sweet smile, positive attitude, and willingness to help others. Please join me in congratulating Miss Mayori Short.
Thank you, Ms. Cotter. Our next principal is Mrs. Fleming from South Grove.
Did you know a teacher when she brings lunch, she should be
She's such a good assistant. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Like my colleagues, I'm very, very excited to be here and grateful for the opportunity. Tonight, I would like to share with you a few of the updates for South Grove Intermediate. The first being around the holistic development of our young people. As you know, all of our schools focus not only on the intellectual growth of our students, but also on the social, emotional, and physical growth as well. So at South Grove, I mentioned at the last board meeting
that we were so grateful to the transportation department and all of our amazing teachers at South Grove and all of you on the board for approving our contract shift for our related arts teachers, because they are doing a phenomenal job leading some enrichment classes once the school day ends, extending that day by an hour for now over 200 students when you include band. So that's really exciting for us. We're really grateful to our students and parents as well for not only recognizing the opportunity, but taking advantage of these opportunities for growth. We have band and cross-country students who go to the middle school, so thankful to our middle school team who helps with that. And some of the clubs that we are offering are STEM for girls, and our STEM girls today, we're looking at DNA of plants. They were pretty excited to show that off, and I was just hopeful that it didn't break on the bus on the way home. They will be taking over the garden, taking care of our garden for the rest of the semester as well. We have our robotics team, our CrossFit team, our art club, our choir, and our SGT news team. And I don't know that you know this, but our SGT news team will be interviewing our very own Mayor Buckley on Thursday morning to find out what South Grove students might appreciate most about the upcoming Fall Festival. Some of the supports and interventions that we have in place as part of that holistic growth, again, like my colleagues, all decisions are made based on the data that we have at our fingertips. Our classroom teachers, like Dee Dee Horan over here, who's here as a mom tonight, are all running small groups based on the student data that we have and focused on number sense and operations in mathematics, phonics and vocabulary development in English language arts. Our related arts teachers are even building in opportunities for greater vocabulary development and spending quite a bit of their professional development time honing in on the research-based strategies for doing that well. At South Grove, we are reinstating our student council under the facilitation of teacher Carrie Tressler. We just completed our first night out at Culver's to raise funds for our student activities. I'd like to give special thanks at this time to teacher Nancy Wilson, treasurer Mel Hamilton, our assistant principal Lynn Pugh, our director of K-6 curriculum Rita Bass, and the devoted hubby of the principal Scott Fleming for doing an outstanding job of helping serve at Culver's last night, along with two outstanding high school student athletes, Kevion Anderson and Tim Ernst. I knew right away they were on the O-line, not because Coach Williams sent them, but because they plowed right through each of us and made it out to the cars much faster than any of us could. So they were great. Thursday is our final collection day of boxed foods for our September food drive. Those goods will go to Servant's Heart and benefit Beech Grove City Schools families. On Friday, we're going to set up the boxes like dominoes and watch how potential energy is converted to kinetic energy or energy of motion. And just like our human energy around being the positive change we wish to see in the world is being actualized through our good work. So we're really excited about that. As far as professional development goes, we have just completed all but one of our teacher S2S meetings. And learning from that, our biggest areas of reinforcements that the teachers have identified would be around implementing new strategies. And when you think about all that they encountered last year and the incredible growth they made along with our students, that pretty much goes without saying. Also using student achievement data. Interestingly, two areas of refinement that the greatest number of certified staff identified were those same two areas. So what's wonderful about that is that as you think about the number of new teachers that we have to Beech Grove City Schools at South Grove, we have these wonderful teachers like Dee Dee and others I've mentioned who are helping mentor and coach them. So we'll all be in an even better place and have a greater capacity at the end of this year. I am coming off of a bit of a natural high today, given that we met with grade level teams and witnessed how intentional and thoughtful their work is when they're creating their plans and really working on that small group and individualized support for students. I'm sure Mr. Gerhardt doesn't want me to take too much of the fanfare away from the wonderful building updates that will be taking place at Southborough, so I'll simply mention roof improvements and STEAM lab renovations are coming our way. Okay, now what we've all been waiting for is Southborough Student of the Month. Miss Addison Korn, could you please come forward? Sorry, Addison. Addison Korn. She has 3 teachers, 3 core teachers, Miss McClure. You want to get a picture of her? Sorry. Yeah. Miss McClure, Mrs. Tressler, and Miss Walker. And here's what they have to say about Addison. Addison is the perfect candidate for Student of the Month, as she exemplifies respect, responsibility, and readiness, and sets a model for all of her peers. Addison has had to become an e-learner for 2 weeks, and she attended every Google Meet, fully participated, and stayed caught up on all of her assignments. That is an awesome example of being gritty and being responsible and ready. What a witness to all of her peers that you can make the most out of any situation. Addison is a model of respect for her classmates. She is a wonderful listener and always follows expectations. She is always ready to go and transitions whenever asked. We are so proud of Addison and cannot wait to see how she will continue to contribute to being the change this school year. Way to go, Addison! Thank you all.
Thank you, Mrs. Fleming. Our next principal, Mr. Morgan, from the middle school.
Well, as the rest of my colleagues, I am excited to be back in person and have our Student of the Month here as well. So I was reflecting with our counselors and assistant principal today and kind of just talking. It is crazy that we are already 6 weeks in to the school year. I mean, 3 weeks away from our 9 weeks and fall break coming up. It's flown by. So we are right in the middle of our fall season right now, about 4 weeks from wrapping up. Our teams are doing really a great job. They're showing a tremendous amount of growth. So we are really excited about what's coming through and what we're going to be seeing at the high school here in the next couple of years. So really, really excited for that. Next week we have an opportunity to participate in Junior Achievements Job Spark, which is a wonderful opportunity for our 8th grade students. It really specifically goes into kind of that career pathways that they're going to have to make a decision on here at the high school, and it's going to give them that hands-on experience with a lot of different professions. So a couple of the clusters are manufacturing, engineering and logistics, agriculture, food and natural resources, architecture, engineering and construction, business and finance, government law, public service, health and life science, hospitality and tourism management, and then technology. So as you can see, there's a lot of different fields, and it's going to be a great experience for our 8th graders coming up here. So to go along with that, our FFA convention is going to happen on October 27th. We're going to take a group of about 12 7th and 8th graders to that convention. So we're really excited about that as well. Again, another great hands-on opportunity for our students at Beech Middle School. And then we are super excited about our 9 weeks coming to a close because we're always able to celebrate with our AB Honor Roll students. We're going to have a cookout here coming up and celebrate with some different activities during that lunch period for us. Which leads me into my Student of the Month, Gabby Boggs. So Gabby is going to be one of those students that's going to be celebrating with us in that AB Honor Roll celebration. So she's a tremendous student and just a great leader for us. So we really appreciate her at Beech Grove Middle School. So our science and math department were very quick to pull the trigger on Gabby, and I wanted to let her parents know, wonderful, wonderful young lady. So Gabby is an excellent example of who a Beech Grove Middle School student models themselves after. She's respectful, kind, hardworking, and prides herself on her academics. Gabby has an intelligent sense of humor and has a real maturity about her. She is a leader in the classroom and does an excellent job as a group leader. She's diligent and detail-oriented, often turning in the best work within her class. Gabby is not afraid to be vulnerable. If she is wrong, she admits it without much hesitation. She has a wide range of interests and tries to hand it at all sorts of things. Having taught Gabby science in her 7th grade year, I was more than thrilled to see her name appear on my roster, and that is from Mr. Lamar. One thing Gabby does to be successful is prepares herself for the work that she's assigned by taking notes, annotating, highlighting, and asking questions. Her hand is usually the first one in the air when a question is posed. Even if she's not confident in her answer, she tries anyway. Gabby is the type of student who reminds you of why you became a teacher, and it is so rewarding having her in class. We will all be sad to see her go at the conclusion of the school year because there is only one Gabby Boggs. She is exceptional. Expect great things from this morning. Congratulations, Gabby.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Last but not least, Mr. Carter from Beech Grove High School.
All right, good evening, everybody. Quick thanks to Ms. Cotter for the homecoming reach out. We're what may sound like a really kind of trivial thing is kind of a big accomplishment, a big deal for us at the high school because a lot of the things that can make high school tolerable for some kids have been stalled the last year and a half to 2 years. So while Glam Day may seem like a very kind of low-level thing, it's a pretty big deal to us, and so that's also an invitation to all of you all to show up for Glam Day tomorrow.
Yeah, can't wait.
Feel free, just Google Elton John and show on up. So homecoming is obviously this week, and it is one of our successes that I want to share. With student council essentially kind of being stalled the last year and a half, we have two great people who have taken it over, Carrie Wood and Deion Smith, and they've just kind of jumped in head first to reinitiate a lot of these things that, again, can help really make high school for a lot of kids. Like we were selling homecoming tickets today at lunch, which was just great. I fielded an email 2 days ago from a student complaining about the snack selection at homecoming. And I was in the weeds of the email, and then I had to pause and reflect and go, well, this is great. Like I'm responding to a snack complaint. So it helped me really put things in perspective. So we do have a homecoming dance coming this Friday that we are really excited for the kids to participate in. Again, homecoming week this week, and today was twin day. Yesterday was pajama day. We did have some kids that participated unknowingly. But they were there. It was good. And so we're really pleased with a lot of the events and things that are happening at the high school and how it's kind of pulling us back together where we were. So that's been really great. So we kind of have, with my administrative staff, we have a lot of goals in regards to when I work with department council or I'm working with ILT. So we have a lot of those kind of nitty-gritty, what I would quote as kind of nerdy goals, but our overall kind of arching goals is to get kids to love going to high school again and get teachers to love teaching there. So everything kind of, that's kind of our umbrella, and we know that a lot of the other really hard work will take care of itself if we can take care of those two things. So we have begun revamping some discipline systems at the high school to really meet the needs of our kids, and really kind of updating some policies, which in conjunction with, we're working really closely with Diana Hendricks with SAD Coalition, just to really target some of our high-risk students at the high school and really look at how do we provide them education rather than, obviously there's still punitive measures, but really how do we really target kids, because we know high school kids are, they're hardwired to make mistakes. And so how are we creating this kind of safety blanket for them? Instructionally, our big focus is really to try to make up for lost time. So we're really making a big push for a lot of our kind of remedial programs for kids, which would be like after-school tutoring. Met with our department chairs today to begin mapping out credit rescue and what's going to be the most effective process for giving those kids the opportunities to kind of rescue some credits. Before school tutoring, making pushes for that. And then Directions Academy as well, working with really increasing enrollment in Directions Academy to really cast a really wide net so we could build the profile of students and really try to target as many kids as humanly possible. Really looking at those juniors and seniors who are like heavy credit deficient that we know that we may lose. And so we're really looking at programs, how we target those kiddos. I asked Mr. Daniel, we obviously have our Student of the Month, but I asked Mr. Daniel to just give me some quick athletic updates to kind of shout out some of our student athletes that we have here at the high school, because we know that it's a daunting task being a student athlete, being able to keep all those kind of airplanes in the air. And he gave me 2 names. The first was Malone Moore. She's ranked 20th player in the nation for softball in her class, 2024. And so that's a really good, that's a fantastic honor, especially being nationally ranked and coming out of our high school, which is awesome. And then the second name he gave me was Chase Alford. Miss Alford's son, actually. And he said that Chase, having stellar season on the tennis courts, is her top singles player. His current overall record is 9-2, and he is undefeated at conference, which is great. So we're really proud of those kiddos. So, and then most importantly, our Student of the Month, which is Mr. Rylan Warren. So I asked, so Mr. Horn was nominated by Mr. Shively, who's one of our history teachers, and this is what Mr. Shively said. He said, since the beginning of the year, Ryan has been a cornerstone of consistency. Sounds like a history teacher, which is awesome. In U.S. history, he readily offers opinions and insights when others are hesitant to publicly engage. His leadership in this class, sorry, read the wrong line. He typed it wrong. His leadership in this class is only outdone by his academic performance. In fact, it is rare that top marks earned by anyone else in the class. It is because of this that I'm beyond proud to nominate Rylan as my Student of the Month. I also solicited info from Mr. Garrett Daniel, who Rylan works with as an athletic assistant. And Mr. Daniel said Rylan is an excellent athletic assistant. He gives 100% for every task, and any time during his helper block that he's not actively participating in assistant athletic work, he's actively engaged in his classwork. And Mr. Daniel couldn't speak high enough about this young man, who I often see in the main office during that time. And he's not working with Mr. Daniel. He's not. This might shock some of you, but some teenagers might pull out their cell phones. They're not actively being pursued. And you often see Rylan with his Chromebook open. He's doing work. So we're really we're grateful for him to be a Horn at the high school, and he was a very easy nomination. So.
We're just going to take a few minutes here so Melody can get pictures with the family. Yes, that would be great. And a group picture of all the kids, maybe 5 minutes or so.
That would be great. Is that other 2 months we get ready so we can get a group photo? That would be great. We'll do that first, and then we'll visit with the principals, and after we go with their principal, they need to meet.
Did Rick ever reply back? No. Can you hear? Okay, because I didn't see a text. I wanted, you guys were texting me. He may or may not. He may or may not know. Do what? Yeah, no, it's not super secret, it's Kathleen, yeah. Janice, I make Kathleen bring them over. For the thing. I forgot about it.
Either that or Beth.
Okay. I forgot. I said, Kathleen, bring money.
Thank you so much. Oh, I don't need this much. I don't need this much. No. I figured I just did the one hand. Yeah, it was $100. I grabbed it a bunch, so I just thought the 6 of us, and I'll just pay for the extra. So 15 is plenty.
Okay, well, just, I'll tell you what, just
Stick it in. Extra water. I don't know. I mean, it'll just go to me. I don't need that here. Well, then, wait a minute. There. Okay. Now we're good.
Are we good?
Yes, we're good.
Just want to make sure.
Don't forget your contribution for the sponsored hole for the
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't get the text. I didn't know anything.
I sent it to everybody.
I don't know how it didn't come through, but I didn't get anything.
Well, then here, take this for.
I'll pay her back.
Yeah,
Let me finish. Wait a minute. Let me make sure. Yeah, well, I sent it to your email.
All right, we'll see you.
I sent it like a month ago. Don't worry about it. What's your phone number? Thank you for this.
There we go. So I'll just pay her back. And then we'll be good. I'll know what's going on.
Sorry. I thought I sent it to everybody.
And then I would be prepared.
Yeah, his brother, they haven't seen him for 11 years.
Well, then there you go. It went well for you.
They went to Gatorade ball games. And so he's driving the car, but
Oh, good. Okay.
we're gonna.
Yeah, I'll pay her back and things like that. You know, I would have brought it tonight.
He's having an allergic reaction to something too.
Poor thing.
Was that quick enough for you, Steve?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Oh, go and take care and let us know. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. You what? Yeah, that's true.
Bigger brother Beech Road that you was planning to do. It's trying to make some changes.
Yeah. Poor thing.
No, Joe fell off the porch across the street from us today. He said he was fine. He just
Yeah,
gave
she's
him
super. Yeah.
So him and his brother.
And I know, I saw Dulcie bring in snacks, if anybody needs to get something to eat, because I know we have a couple things going tonight. Other than that, we'll go ahead and, do we have more? Oh, okay, I apologize. Okay, so Rick is online. He is our fifth one. He is online, he can hear us.
He can't vote.
He can't vote, so we have 4 voting members. Kim is absent tonight. Oh, he can't vote?
Since we're still in the emergency.
Oh, we are,
order,
under the governor's.
I thought that changed.
It hasn't yet. So we are currently under, ISBA just released actually some updated guidance to make sure that we knew that we're still under that umbrella, but that we have to be advised that if that stops, then it would be a problem.
Okay. Beth had to leave unexpectedly. Her poor husband fell. So anyway, we'll get started again with curriculum.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. And our principals talked about many of these things, about professional development going on, with a lot of safe schools and a lot of the trainings that occurred at the beginning of the year, et cetera. Also, some of the PLCs focused on curriculum alignment, et cetera, for MTSS programs. I can't remember who mentioned the MTSS program consultant. We had Dr. McKinney. Dr. McKinney is with the Indiana IEP Resource Center, and it is a free resource. And what she does is she'll come around and take a look at our MTSS program and look at our interventions. We have really good interventions that our teachers have in place, but what she's coming around to do is looking at how we can organize it and articulate it K through 12 to make it more consistent. So there's that similar language K through 12. So she did a walkthrough about in the last week and a half of all the buildings, and is supposed to meet with Dr. Hammock and myself and our team to talk about what she found. She saw a lot of great things, had a lot of positive comments, but we're just excited to kind of hear some of the guidance that she's giving us so that we can work to articulate that and make those resources consistent K-12. So that's something that we took on last year and thought that would be a good goal for us, is to coordinate that and make sure that's articulated, trying to make sure all of our programming has that K-12 focus. So that's pretty exciting in that regard, so we're very excited about our feedback. Another thing there that's mentioned in our report is the junior ROTC and just the great things going on with that. I was talking to one of the Master Staff Sergeants tonight, and he was mentioning how, and Dulcie may be able to attest to this, but the JROTC program stepped up and served lunches the last few days to support the food service team, because as you know, with some of the hiring, we're short, and they just wanted to thank that group and support them. So they set it up, and they went down and served lunch at the high school to all the kids, and kind of gave our food services a little relief, a little breather. So it was just neat to see those things. And as I came in here tonight, I was talking to the kids. They were out with rifle practice, and they were just finishing up that, and just listening to them talk as they were leaving, and all the positive things that were being said by the kids and by the instructors was just definitely would just reiterate the positive things that are happening there. And I'm really glad that that's come about, and it's just another great leadership opportunity that our kids have blossomed with. So I think those are just some of the great things going on in the curriculum world, and just really excited to start jumping into our test security training. And believe it or not, some of those state tests are going to be starting happening before too long. So that's big in the curriculum department also. So that's probably it for that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Melody, Community Relations and Education Foundation.
Yes. I'm serving on a new committee right now with the Indiana School Public Relations Association. It's a campaign to promote public schools and let people know how great we are, not only in our community, but across the state of Indiana, and that we're the schools of choice for our students in our community. So we met for our first Zoom meeting on the 31st, and I'll keep you posted. We're looking toward early in the year of 2022 to kind of launch some things. So I'm sure you'll see Beech Grove photos and or video in that presentation. Carl Palma, our athletic director, spoke with reporter Hannah Mordaw about the protocols for keeping our student athletes safe in this extreme heat. As we all know, August was a really hot, humid month. And so that was a great story. And of course, Carl did a wonderful job. The link to the story is included if you missed it. So the staff and I are in the process of reworking the website and to include more highlights of our schools and students. The last 18 months have been so COVID heavy, and everything kind of overwhelmed our website with COVID for the last 18 months. So it's really time to return to the website being school positivity and the great things of our students. So we appreciate Dr. Hammock's encouragement to us to return to a more normal representation of our district on the website. If you've been reading the Hornet Blast, which I'm sure every one of you do faithfully every week, that Dr. Hammock has been recording a weekly YouTube message that's included in the Hornet Blast every week. Parents, that's in place of the Facebook Live that occurred previously. And parents can still submit questions beforehand, and then Dr. Hammock will answer any of those that have been submitted. Like I said, the YouTube link is in the Hornet Blast every week. The Beech Growers Club Annual Fall Festival, of course, begins tomorrow. And the district will have a booth that we will staff on Friday evening and all day on Saturday. So Steph has done a wonderful job of putting together some things for us to give away and provide our families with a way to connect with our district. As far as Education Foundation, the Parent Home Connection team that Erin talked about, we were approached by one of the teachers who asked us if we would purchase 10 $10 Kroger gift cards to give to families as an incentive for attending. And so we were very happy to do that. And we did do that with the hope that that'll help encourage them to become more involved or stay involved in their child's education. We also, many of you have heard about Tiffany Bolton out in the community. She's done a lot of making masks over the last 18 months. She's done it free for the community, and Tiffany is one of our bus drivers. So the foundation felt like we wanted to support her efforts. She's been making them for staff, students too, and community members. So we donated $250 to Tiffany to buy materials for masks to make. So we're really appreciative of her doing that. And then the foundation is also providing funding in the form of golf outing pole sponsorships for 2 organizations that are very near and dear to our district, the Matt English Foundation and Shop with a Cop. So that's it.
I'm going to combine the motion to approve minutes and motion to approve the claims, just to kind of help things along today.
I move that we approve the minutes and the claims.
Second.
And a second by Rob. Any questions on any of those? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed. That's odd. We did not have any public comment tonight. Nobody signed in, right? Nobody? Okay. And then we'll go ahead and move on to the business update, because I know we have several sub-hearings. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so I did provide for you a basic cash flow and fund balances as normal, pretty close to parameters as you would have anticipated each of those funds for this time of the year. And then we can move in tonight is the budget hearing process and CPF and transportation bus replacement plan. So if we can start with those. For the motion to open.
I move to open the 2022 budget hearing.
Thank you, Jill. Need a second to open it?
I'll second.
Thank you, Janice. And you've got it on this screen behind you.
Yep, it's on the big screen. And basically, for those of you who've been in this before, I think everyone in the room actually has. And so basically, we have the 6 major funds: education debt, pension debt, operations, referendum, and referendum debt funds. I'll go through each of those 6 with just a basic explanation. First of all, the education fund is primarily state funding. We do have miscellaneous revenue that are going there. It was advertised at $22.9 million. That is the education fund number 101. And basically, education pays for all of our people, all of our curriculum, all of our teacher building salaries, things that are directly impacting student education on a daily basis. The other monies besides tuition support are the complexity grant, academic honors, and various other items like that. And we do get some miscellaneous revenue from rental facilities and things like that. There's other little grants in there, but 98% of all those dollars come from the student count. Which brings me to the education fund. This is a little busy, but as you can see, very consistent. With enrollment of 3,002 students in 2020, in the fall of 2020 and in the February count as an average number, we netted approximately $24 million. And even with the enrollment cycling down to approximately 2952, and I use that number because the state of Indiana gave us that estimated enrollment number, although I do think we're closer to 2970 this week, but a little bit down. And even though we're down a little bit, because of the increases in the basic grant, we still should go up some dollars. These numbers are source documents from the state DOE. They're not guesstimates, but they will fluctuate based on those miscellaneous revenues and that final count this Friday. So this Friday is the student count. So I do anticipate an increase in dollars more than what's on this, but I wanted to use source numbers that are identifiable by the DOE. Okay? They give us a estimate of numbers, estimate of revenue, and estimate of students. And so that's what this is broken down by. So the debt service fund is the next fund, and it is a property tax fund, and it's basically our mortgage payment for all of the 5 major buildings without renovations included. It also brings in monies that we don't get in for textbooks from students of poverty. So we reimburse money by using the tax rate to get those dollars back into, and it's flowed over to the education fund to help with curriculum materials. It also pays back our common school loan repayment at 100%. The debt service fund is $1.2857 as advertised. However, we found out that we advertised very similar to that number last year, and they cut our number all the way to $1.04, which was very frustrating, and it took 30 days to really fight them because they wanted to give us 92 cents. So we got it to $1.04, which was able to pay our mortgage payment, which was a good thing. So even though we advertised $6.3 million, the expenses are $5,031,000. I anticipate they will cut that rate. And we do lose some money because of circuit breaker even in here. So I do think we'll net $5.3 million, which since our mortgage payment is $5,031,000, we're going to make enough money to pay our bills. So that's a good thing. And so that's kind of that flow. The nice thing is that the revenue available to transfer still for one more year out of this fund is to the operations fund is $642,000. Last year, or actually this calendar year, it was $1.4 million. So we're being very careful to be mindful that those are funds for concrete and striping and for mowing the lawn and for transportation. Operations is important for maintenance. We only have that for 2 more calendar years. And so we're in the process of making sure that we have plans on how to operate and pay our electrical bill and our plumbing bill and our water bill. Tough stuff, but I really think we have good plans in place to do that. The nice thing about all of these funds, the AV on the left side, which is the assessed valuation of all property, houses, and businesses, continues to increase at a 5 to 6% clip. So that'll come into play a little bit later in another fund. Any questions on mortgage payment? So referendum debt service fund is changing before our eyes because of the early childhood center. And it actually, this was the band addition and plaza is 15 cents of this, and it's been maintained for the last 4 years. But it also will pay the interest on the early childhood center for the last 12 months, and the auditorium, HVAC renovations, and the outdoor upgrades, high school sports, and of course all of the early childhood center equaling $17.4 million. So this is changing, but there's really good news under the surface. It's kind of like that iceberg thing, I guess. We talked about the tax rate was approved at 15 for the old one, right? And simultaneously, we asked the voters to approve 25 cents. You add those together, and it's 40 cents. Last year, during the pandemic, and because of the economy, I asked permission to drop the rate in half and give taxpayers a break. So we had a 1 year where it dropped to 7 cents. And you'll see that at the $518 million line of AV times 0.07 equals $374,000. We had a cash balance to make a payment, okay? So normally and consistently we're at 15 cents, right? We anticipate we'll never get to even close to 40 cents ever, as long as the value, the AV, remains consistent. So we are at 23 cents, which is 8 cents higher, only 8 cents higher than our standard of 15 cents. And then working with Baker Tilly, I asked permission to really do some partial studying of AV. He anticipates, and I agree with him 100%, that the 2023 rate, which will be the maximum of all time, will be 27 cents, 13 cents below the voter-approved 40 cents. And then every time the AV goes up, the 27 cents can go down and give tax relief year after year. And so we believe that to be 2 or 3 cents every year. So in about 4 years, we'll be back down to 15 cents, which is pretty amazing because we had to do the questions, right, and do worst-case scenario. And we wanted the 17.4 million, right? We're going to be able to pay back the payment, but I do want you to see the levy is 1.1 million because we have 2 payments in here. The old band payment and the new early childhood payment, okay? So that'll go up to about 1.5, 1.4 and a half, which will result in 27 cents in 2023. So we're projecting quite a ways ahead. But I think that's good news at the end of the day. And I answered questions. I tried to explain that. It gets kind of in the weeds a little bit with tax rate assessment and all that stuff. But what we have to hope is that the housing prices and the business prices, and we keep attracting, the ADM milling to continue to, increase in value and do well. And I think the city's on pace to support that as well. So kind of where we are in referendum debt. So pension debt is going to go away. We're only a couple of years away from that 20-year commitment. This was an old dollar amount that was paid off pensions in 2001. We refinanced and got a much lower rate, but it's resulted in a couple more years of payment. This is very consistently been going down because of the AV year. 17 cents down to 16 cents, down to 15 cents, down to 11 cents. I advertised at 12.24. However, I anticipate they'll cut it right back to 1.11. So it'll be very consistent. But as you can see, the levy is increasing with the AV going up. And so that's, again, that assessed value continuing to increase is a positive for Beech Grove City Schools and the community as a whole. So total funds available, 604. Budgeted expense, 588. So we're not going to carry a lot of cash balance in that fund, nor do we need to for any reason. Operating fund is really the Mr. Gerhardt fund, and he's maintenance and repairs and emergencies and everything. And summer projects, we used to kind of, as he started in operation, we had our first 2 meetings, probably the first 2 years, and said, hey, how much we got for the summer, right? And now it seems like every time we turn around, we have a sewer, or we have an HVAC, or we have a roof. And so summer projects have really kind of gone to the wayside. But with all the ESSER dollars and with all of the early childhood center, we have a lot of positive construction going on. In here, we just advertise a statutory maximum that is allowed. 98% of it will be swept away because of our circuit breaker, and we understand that. But last year, for this year, 2021, for the first time ever, we actually made about $50,000. And so I anticipate next year we're going to make $60,000. And that's kind of sad when you think about our circuit breaker being top 3 in the entire state of Indiana. We lose now $3,080,000 or $3,020,000 because we are into the green. That's a green number on this slide. It's been 12 years since I've had a green number there for you. Hopefully, as we trend forward with the AV, we can get more green in operations. However, I do want to mention the revenue from the education fund. It is allowed by statute to move 15%. We don't quite ever move 15% total, but we do move around 2.4 million. I did put that number in there to show you that the need for the expenses in this area for 0300 was advertised at 3,215,000, the top number, and then the revenue at the bottom supports that 3,215,000. But the revenue total, if we did transfer and have all of it available or needed, is 3,661,083. So we have a balanced budget there as well. We don't carry a cash balance in the operations, and I think you've seen that. Some years we've been as low as $5,000 in a $3 million fund. The things that are spent there certainly are transportation at an almost, a very large clip outside of the referendum operating. So when you look at transportation and bus replacement that we'll talk about in a minute, we talk about the referendum operating fund 0160. We also increased this with teacher increases to the base salary every year moving forward, counselors, SRO, crossing guards, and all of those are wages. We also have other expenses that we use out of here to balance the budget as a whole. Mainly transportation. We're at $1 million transportation for the district as a whole. So the statutory approved dollar amount was 55 cents in the public question. 55 cents. And look at that AV increase. This is a gross AV, which means the TIF districts don't apply. So when you have $490 million of AV under with the TIF, outside of the TIF included, right? They get taxed with this. You're at $550 million. You multiply that times 55 cents, and for the first time ever, you net over $3 million for expenses. Advertised a budget at 3.590. Net levy, $3,025,000, plus we had a very good cash balance of over $500,000 going into 2021. And so the total revenue or funds available are $3.6 million, which covers the $3.59 million as a balanced budget here as well. The nice thing about the 55 cents is that it can't be touched by circuit breaker. And so it's really Beech Grove City Schools saving grace to paying our bills. So miscellaneous tax revenue, one of the reasons why we always put operations at the 62 cents is because we net $1.29 million in miscellaneous revenue by getting, even if the circuit breaker takes all that levy, we still get financial institution tax, CVET, all these other dollars based on the tax rate. It doesn't affect the homeowner specifically. So $1,290,000 is extra income. As you know, we never put that in the budget to expend the $1.2 million because it's our safety net, and we've used it many, many years in the past. So this is the last slide, and I have all those numbers tallied up for you for a $35.1 million revenue estimate and a advertised budget of $3,369,65. However, that includes that operations fund of $3 million that we're not going to spend. So that's kind of all of it in a nutshell. This is the budget packet here. And so it takes a lot of source documents, and a wonderful thing online called Gateway has even a, I don't know what it's called, it's an error correction module now, where I click a button, it tells me any errors that are in there. So it's like TaxAct online with on steroids. So came through and finished up any errors, and we don't have any. I ran it all through Baker Tilly before having this presentation for you, and I have their signed acknowledgement also that they feel very comfortable. with those tax rates and the pretty bold assessment that we're only going to get to 27 cents in the referendum debt fund, which I think is a really bright spot of the overall budget as a whole. So I can answer any questions anyone might have. And always between now and October 19th would be the approval date. If anybody wants to go through something and better understand one of the specific funds, the door's open. I can go through some of those numbers for you.
So we're 850,000 to the good then,
Yeah.
right?
It's nice to see that. It's a nice change of
Yeah.
pace,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
for the last couple of years.
We have challenges ahead because we lose the ability in debt service to transfer money over in the operations, right? We lose the ability to spend that and move that. So in 2 years, we have a $643,000, something we're working on. But if AV keeps going, that could be, at least half of it could be mitigated through that. So we may have to have some budget efficiencies and use ESSER dollars very wisely moving forward so that we can lower some of our expenses.
Do you have any other questions on these numbers? Then we need a motion to close this budget hearing.
All motion?
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Janice and Rob. Any other questions about that? All in favor of closing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. We'll move right on to the bus replacement plan hearing. We need a motion to open this hearing.
I'll move to open the bus replacement plan hearing.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion on the table.
We own about 32 buses, and I gave you a very detailed list of dates and times, and they even had the VIN numbers in there and how old they are. We're much better today, and Tom and Steve can both really attest that doing the 5-year 10-bus leases is good, but it is reflected in a total overall cost here in the bus plan. As you see, we'll only be replacing 1 or 2. Our buses are majority under the 12-year age, and so total contracted costs mean we're paying back those leases, and that's at $131,250 because of those leases broken out over 5 years, and a replacement cost of $140. And so as you see, we only have 3 more years, and then at that time, I would anticipate we would buy 10 more and have everything under 10 years old, because gasoline buses are the bottom. I mean, no, they're the best. You can ask Kevin Kinder. You don't have to heat the engines. You don't have to keep them warm. They start right up. The heat happens right away. Our next real challenge that Tom's very aware of is air conditioning. And so I think in the future we're going to have some conversations about whenever we replace a new bus moving forward, we kind of bite the bullet and put air on every one of the new ones.
I'm good with that, and I think as we've moved our school start date up all the way till July, we're really not, it used to be just okay, a couple weeks probably would be hot. Now it's really just.
So that's, and I think even this next bus and the bus, I mean, we won't, that'll be my recommendation, that Tom gets quotes through the service center for.
And the picture of the new bus was the one that we had to wait on from Canada, right?
Right. With the fancy sporty front end.
How many diesels we got left?
I'm sorry?
How many diesels do we have left?
Not very many.
I was gonna say, we ought to be close to being out.
I would say even in service.
I thought they were the
maybe 1 or
backups.
2.
Excellent.
So we have diesels that are our spares. But with as new as the buses are, we don't use them very often.
They were just spare. Okay. Any other questions on the bus replacement hearing? Okay, we need a motion to close that. Close the hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Janice. I'll second it. Thank you, Jill. And then, all those in favor to close the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Closed. And we now need a motion to adopt the bus replacement plan and resolution.
Motion?
I'll second Rob and Jill. Any questions on that? All those in favor of adopting the bus replacement plan, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Adopted. Okay. And moving on to capital projects. We need to open that hearing.
I move that we open the 2022 capital project plan hearing.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Jill and Janice. Okay?
I provided a 13-page document, which is a very nice historical review of every one of the buildings with some history, with ADM, things like that. But we do go 3 years forward, 22, 23, 24, and not really having an operations fund that is viable in terms of the tax rate. We keep this pretty consistent with what we spend in referendum operating, but primarily focused on repairs, maintenance, and transportation as a whole. So as you can see, that number is familiar, the $3,080,000, it's familiar to me anyway, because I've looked at it for the last 12 weeks. And that negative $2,901,000 is what would be the Department of Local Government Finance anticipation of our loss circuit breaker. And so it leaves $120,000. The 62-cent tax rate is there, but in the budget presentation, I told you about the expenditure plans on how we utilize operations and referendum operating to pay for the emergencies and the constructions and all the things that are kind of going on there. So whatever the statutory limit is annually moving forward, again, that 62 cents gives us that miscellaneous revenue that we end up utilizing in the budget funds. So that's a positive. For us, having a project has been a big zero, as you say, for a long time now. But we keep doing the plan. We're not going to give up on advertising that rate, because if it wasn't in the Constitution, we would deserve every penny of that $30,080,000. And so we fought the good fight for 10 years now. So it is what it is right there. But I can answer any questions on if you have any. The only, again, there's that cash balance in the operations fund, and we only carry $44,000 on the annual basis.
Any questions on the capital projects plan? We need a motion to close that hearing.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Rob. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jan. All those in favor to close the capital project plan, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Opposed? And we need a motion to adopt the capital projects plan for 2022.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Janice. I'll second. Thank you, Jill. Any questions on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Okay. Superintendent and personnel.
We have just the one action tonight, asking for your approval of the employment recommendations as listed, including any salary changes and amounts listed in the Google Doc that was attached for your reference. So happy to answer any questions you might have, but pretty straightforward. We've gotten through all of that hiring that was happening over the last couple of months here, and this looks like a much more traditional personnel report for your review.
We need a motion to approve the employment recommendations.
I'll motion.
I didn't see
Thank you,
any
Janice.
changes.
A second? Second. Thank you, Jill.
It's one of you.
Any questions? All those in favor of approving the employment recommendations, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passed. Good. Okay. Operations.
So, yeah, we took delivery of our fourth activity bus last week. That was stuck in Canada. Not sure how it got across the border. Don't really care. It's here, and we need it. Our oldest one it's still passing inspection, but it probably will not be long. So it was a good purchase for us. The state police will come late this week to inspect it and make it roadworthy. So we can start supporting kids and athletes on it. So that was some good news for us. The HVAC at the high school is up and running. We had a temporary chiller for 2 weeks. We discovered that on the bottom side of one of our glycol pipes, there was a hole about that big. That over time with buses and deliveries, probably just gave out. Probably a rock underneath there or something. We added a couple inches of concrete to try to help that. So hopefully that will never be a problem for us again. I also included a picture of a sewer line that we had to move because of the construction over at Corner Park. We had to move the data line to the west, or to the north. And they absolutely did a perfect job and punctured that sewer pipe right square in the middle. So the good news is that was on their dime. So we got a new sewer pipe out of that. The high school greenhouse, if you walk past, they have just made tremendous progress, even since I snapped that picture that I sent you. So they were doing some electrical work on it this week and putting the final panels up. So they're making great progress. As Erin updated you, there's not much that I can add to that. She and her staff have moved to the new temporary office, which is the old boardroom, cut into 3 different sections. So I think that's working out well for you. The roof at South Grove is almost all the way done. It is watertight right now. There's some little more insulation work that they need to do and the flashing on top. But I think the leaks are stopped, correct? All right, well that's really good news. Jerry Ross and I met with Trent Newport from Crossroads, who's representing Beech Grove, about potential plans for the greenway, the walkway here on our property. And we talked about, distance from the building and safety and things of that nature. He was certainly on board with that. We give that to the mayor. It's not going to be much different than the original path. The original path was going to be down our property line by the football field. With the purchase of the Adelaide property where the softball field sits, it will now go around that. So not a whole lot of change on that, but certainly sought our input for that. We'll continue to do so. And we continue to be very frustrated with middle school auxiliary gym. It seems when we have a torrential downpour, we have regular rain, we're fine. When we get those really hard, intense rains for 20 minutes, a half an hour, 45 minutes, we have a water intrusion problem. So that floor started to warp again. We were fairly certain, we were 100% certain, and I guess we should have been, that it was the roof, because when it rained, water was coming down inside.
Or you can ground water.
So, again, we called a civil engineer to come counsel us on that, and he said it could be any number of things. It could be a hydrostatic water table thing coming up, and
Anybody that lives here is not surprised by that.
so it's curious. I mean, I've been here since they built the thing, and I'm like, why is this just now starting? And he said there's really, could be anything. So he's going to work with us on trial and error, and probably put a French drain around there first as the least expensive option. again, hope that that solves the problem, and just continue to monitor it. I want to assure you that the new roof we put on was not a waste of money at all. It was shrinking, and it was at the end of its life as well, so it had to be done. So that's it for operations.
I know we've all lived here a long time. I've been in my house 15 years. In the last 5, I've developed a high water table under my basement. So this is not news.
Yeah, and the library never had any problems either, and we now have had spaces flood 3 times, and it's not a roof or a gutter issue. It's something.
It's groundwater.
And you know, we're looking at potentially digging up along that corner by the school parking lot, right there, where that entrance is, and because it tends to happen, particularly after it's been dry for quite a while, and then suddenly we get a huge influx of water. So yeah, something has changed over the last 5 years.
We did coincidentally just bus replacement, but we did purchase a bus. We ordered one in July, and it does have air conditioning. That's about a $9,500 expense on a bus, which, to your point, when we start as early as we start, is okay.
Honestly, it is. And over the long term, we're saving on the difference between gas and diesel. And yeah, we got to do it. Okay. We need a motion to approve donations as presented.
I move we approve the donations as presented.
I'll second.
Should have find that. Okay, thank you. Any questions on the donations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. And a motion to approve the fundraisers.
I move we approve the fundraisers.
Second.
Thank you. Second. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. And a motion to review the 2022-2023 school calendar. I don't know why it's hard to say. And to grant our superintendent the authority to implement the calendar.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Rob and Jill. Okay, any discussion on that or questions?
I can tell you a little bit about the process, just so that you are aware of how we got to the school calendar that's being offered to you this evening. So first off, really appreciate Steph. Steph did an analysis of the partner school districts that we share services with, and created for us a couple of drafts for initial review. Once that was done, then we engage in calendar work with our Certified Teachers Association, Classroom Teachers Association here. And it was a really wonderful first meeting with that group, because really it was our intention to have several meetings to build the calendar. But after our first meeting, we were able to receive some great feedback, tweaked just slightly the calendar that is presented to you this evening. And it illustrates feedback that we've received from our CTA. So at this point, we think that we're there. We just haven't had the opportunity to kind of put a bow on it yet with the CTA to make sure that it's exactly what they had hoped to see. But it does align with our expectations as well. And so all that we care about, 180 student days, right? Because if you make that mistake, you're in big trouble. Yeah, very pleased with it. So tonight, with your approval then, once we get it to a point of being finalized, then we'll be good to go for publication.
Can I just say thank you for having a student, as a parent, for having after the holiday December break, having students return on Tuesday instead of a Monday. I think having those teachers have that one day in the class where they sort of remove themselves, and then students coming back that Tuesday is a very, very smart idea.
So and that absolutely, Jill, to your point, is feedback that we received from our educators. So interestingly, more secondary teachers prefer that day, because they are winding up final exams. They're winding up, kind of that first semester, all the work that is presented there. And so that date was sort of asked for from a secondary point of view. And then our more elementary teachers were presenting with a lot of interest in having that day, so we have 4 work days for our educators, that day being actually before the school year started so that they could have more time to get their classrooms prepared.
Right.
So that's why you see the words Flex Day in the July date and the January date, because we are allowing each building to make the decision on which they prefer, so that it will align better with what they need. And
Very
that
smart.
is the Gerhardt solution. So Tom Gerhardt came up with this. We're going to forever title it that. And feedback from our educators. So
Excellent.
yeah, so good. I just outed you, didn't I?
It's a Gerhardt Day.
So good. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions on the calendar? Okay. All those in favor say aye of adopting?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Okay. Policy and guideline considerations, I don't think we have any. Awesome. Committee and community reports.
I have a CNN report.
Okay.
We had 3 students of the month at
Amazing.
C9 this year. Was so proud when I was in the meeting last week. Abigail Gray received it from Culinary Arts 1, Lexi Bird for dental careers, and Cheyenne Hobbs for veterinary careers. So, and I've shared that information with Melody and Mr. Carr and Dr. Hammocks, and Melody's going to put something nice in the Heart of Glass. But, for having that many, occasionally we'll get 1, but to have 3 the first month back at school just really brought a lot of pride. Secondly, as we all know, through struggling through our own construction projects, C9's running its roadblocks with theirs as well. We have fortunately, a lot of the people that sit on the board are from the construction arts. So they're being very thoughtful in working with the architect and the contractors on how to handle some of these issues. And so the project is going to be delayed. Initially, they would hope to start break ground soon and then have things ready for next school year. But my guess is that is probably not going to happen. They've already peeled some things off of the table and are actually placing it in the laps of some of the C9 students, particularly the landscape and horticulture pieces, which makes perfect sense. But we have not signed the contracts based upon the feedback we're receiving from fellow board members that are sitting on that small committee to sort of work this process through. So I just wanted to keep you guys all in the loop that they are experiencing the same frustrations and concerns from rising construction costs, delay in materials, inability to find workforce to do the work once the materials are there, the same sorts of things that we're seeing. So I just wanted to keep you all in the loop. Along with that things are moving a little slowly. That's all I have to report.
Excellent, thank you so much. Anything else? I know with the fall festival there's a lot of things going on. So anyway, we can move on. I know superintendent success stories or board member success stories.
I'm just really thankful for all the hard work that the teachers and principals and everybody have done for bringing these kids back to school after a really wonkadilly crazy year. And a lot of this burden has fallen on the school nurses, the community as well, and they have done a really spectacular job. So as a parent as well as a board member, thanks to all of you, because I know how stressful it is to just be a kid there. So I know it's stressful for you there as the grown-ups as well. So thank every single one of everybody in this room for really putting in the extra efforts.
I would absolutely agree. I know that first month was rough, and I am just can't thank you enough for making that work and make it positive and get our kids back in the building. That's not easy, and I've heard nothing but positive feedback from the parents that talk to me. So, I mean, I don't follow the social media as much as I probably should, but you usually can hear negative. I don't. So, thank you. We'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting. It's 8 o'clock. Need a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you, Jill. And second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and all in favor say aye. Aye. 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, teachers. I know it's late.
Rick usually does the adjourning one.
Right.
Yeah.